Hey, good morning. It's Tuesday, June 9th. And again, I can't hardly believe that. I don't know, it just seems like time's moving really quickly. And there are changes afoot. I'm here for meditation. I'm going to meditate really soon. I gotta say it, so I'm just having a tiny bit left to read in this book, The Untethered Soul. And, the beginning makes so much sense. It lays out foundations. But now, the last couple of chapters are literally just like blowing my mind. And what I love about it is that I do think that everything kind of circles around one message. Everything that makes sense to me circles around one message, but sometimes I have to hear it in different ways, and I really, really like it when what I'm reading also just boils it down, because I feel like, we do to some extent build our lives on sand. And I am always aware of that, and there are conflicting motives from time to time. And then I sort of short circuit, like I sort of go, am I serving this or am I serving this? And right now, this book, I feel like I even took it with me in my sleep, in my dreams. I just feel like I'm refreshed and like this is day one, because it reminded me and said something that I already knew. And it's said in fancier ways, it's said in more esoteric ways, but in simplest terms, this is boiling it down to our joy is our spiritual path. And make one decision and honor that decision above all else. Choose to be happy no matter what. And first, it talks certainly about non-attachment and clinging, and I was also getting confused. Like, certain aspects of duality confused me. This concept that there's so little we can actually control. And I'm like, yeah, but then we also can control. So what we can't control is very much about the day-to-day. What we can control is our attitude, our mood, our joy, and our happiness. And so you make this vow, and then something happens. In simplest terms, someone cuts you off in traffic. And are you going to throw your vow away over that? Your joy, your happiness, your spiritual work? And then, of course, bigger things are going to happen. Big things in the world. But are you going to throw it away over that? Now that something isn't the way you think it should be, the construct in your brain, are you going to throw your happiness away over that? And it's all about conditions and conditional, and I feel like there's something here I should read, but I'm not sure if I opened up to the right thing. Here's a thought. One should view their spiritual work as learning to live life without stress, problems, fear, or melodrama. The path of using life to evolve spiritually is truly the highest path. And in the previous chapter, it was all about joy. Joy, you simply align yourself with joy and choose to do that no matter what, and your spiritual path will unfold before you. There really is no reason for tension or problems. Stress only happens when you resist life's events. If you're neither pushing life away nor pulling it towards you, then you are not creating any resistance. You are simply present. In this state, you are just witnessing and experiencing the events of life taking place. If you choose to live this way, you will see that life can be lived in a state of peace. Hey guys, good morning. Good morning, Sam. Good morning, Anisberto. Okay, so there's a lot about this and me personally because, I learned, I think the first thing to let go of was life events. And so that's been a little hard this week, but then I felt also a little guilty that I didn't completely let the events of the world unend me. But I also allowed myself to have a relationship with what was going on, but it didn't unend me. Hello, Crystal. And then, so like in my state of being, I just knew that I would short circuit if I paid too much attention to the rest of the world, to things I can't control. And then only in a couple of years ago, some events happened and I had to go to therapy. I almost had a major breakdown. But I was keeping it together so much. And this book talks about the keeping it together. Trying to control some things that I couldn't control. And then I noticed how much I still had the hook in me of trying to control how other people felt about me. And that's like my ancient wound and hook. And so in the past couple of years, I've done a lot of work around that, a lot of work around letting go of other people. Because if we're basing our happiness on other people, then we really have a major challenge. But now, when I am struggling, I really recognize I'm still placing conditions on myself and on my relationship with myself. And I have many affectations. It's actually been kind of healing. You might think I look like a mess every day, but I'm sort of facing myself a little bit to just come here right after waking up. And, I like to put myself together, but you know what else I've always needed to put myself together? It's one of my affectations. I can't be happy unless I've had a shower and put rollers in my hair. It's not entirely that black and white. I have learned to roll with it some of the time and then do it when I want to. So I've unhooked a little bit from it being my absolute happiness. And I have many other affectations. I have to produce. I have to, all of my working out and yoga and cleanses, I can place conditions on myself. And that can bump up against being present and in the moment with my family or whatever my current work demands are. And I really do think I've been working with this for a few years now. I've learned it's not just getting to the yoga studio. It's how I live my whole life. But I feel like I have a fresh perspective now on how to really honor my highest truth, and that is you simply make the choice to be happy no matter what conditions unfold. And when I went to Bali and traveled for 17 days, that was something I was fearful of, and I rolled with it mostly, but yet I had this fear of not being able to keep it together. And so that was still there, this trying to keep it together. And then like on the very, very last day, I was overtired. There were conditions I didn't like. And on that particular day, I felt like a total mess. And could I, in that day, and I really tried, but I wasn't quite getting there. So you make the choice, good morning, Kurt, to be happy. And I always say this with respect, and you must know I've had much direct experience with intense mental illness. Not necessarily me personally, but all around me. And so I have respect for people who have more than they can unburden themselves of on their own. And to that I always say, seek help. Like I found an amazing amazing therapist. And all of these practices have helped me heal over time. And so the choice to be happy, and what I'm excited about, is it's not a new list, it's not a new cleanse, it's not a new workout. I still think take care of the body, you take care of your mind and soul. So I'm still a coach and a person involved in all of those things, and a teacher. However, it can't be the be all end all of whether or not I'm happy. Otherwise, I'm going to be stunted in my spiritual growth. So yes, we set up our day. Yes, we do our best. Yes, we make our plans. And then you release it and you surrender. And I've been feeling stuck around this concept of surrender, but I think I get it now, because I don't, it's not easy for me to both control the things and make the plans and surrender. But that's what it is, because we live in life. You have what's on your plate. You make the plans to do your best, and then you surrender. And sometimes this body, this ego, makes choices that don't serve us. And it doesn't mean you just keep doing that. If something's destroying your happiness, you let it fall away so that you can make a different choice. And maybe you don't make that choice today, but it still doesn't destroy your happiness. So you just start this game of watching and noticing and just falling back behind it a little bit. So joy. I did set the timer a little extra because I knew I was going to talk a little extra. So, and I even mentioned it yesterday, I think. It was like, if you break the pencil lead and you get worked up, how can you pull back from that? Something I really care about broke the other day, and I was going to get upset and start blaming people for it's a cabinet, and the glass doors were pulled off. And we got it super cheaply, but I love it, and it's vintage. And the sliding glass doors, like, I'd been away, and they were off their tracks, and I didn't realize it. And then when I went to fix it, a corner chipped off. Now it still works, but it's imperfect, and like about 2 inches of a corner is chipped off. And I wanted to get all upset about people not being careful using it while I wasn't here to babysit it. And you know, who knows if that's even true? Maybe I'm the one who got it off the track. But I was able to, like, I'll have these little moments of like rage and frustration, and I was able to just drop back and be like, no, this does not get to change my mood. This is just a thing that happened, whatever. So the proverbial spilled milk, right? But I know some of the stuff is even bigger. And right now I've been feeling like it's selfish to just focus on my joy. And I reached out to a friend because I'm so concerned and so worried, and it feels like there's this new judgment about how we all organize ourselves right now. And I'm not seeing that a cry for change isn't warranted, or that people aren't suffering. That's never what I'm saying. I'm just saying it seems the only way through for me to heal and do good in the world is to follow this path and to work on my uninterrupted joy so that I can heal. And that's what I'm trying to do, and that's the message that I'm trying to spread. So with that, let's use the rest of our time to meditate. Hi, Marissa. Good morning, everybody. So I am going to settle in, and meditation is like the best tool or the place. I underlined another little blip about meditation in here, but here's unconditional happiness is a very high path and a very high technique because it solves everything. If you have trouble remembering that, then meditate. Meditation strengthens your center of consciousness so that you're always aware enough not to allow your heart to close. You remain open by simply letting go and releasing the tendency to close. You just relax your heart when it starts to tighten. You don't have to be outwardly glowing all the time. You're just joyful inside. Instead of complaining, you're just having fun with the different situations that unfold. So that's also equating heart opening to heart closing, with knowing whether you're in this state of awareness and joy. Okay, so I am really pumped up. Hi, Barb Frost. Hi, Jennifer. But yeah, and I can be a little heightened, and we can still meditate, because you don't want to be too here or too here. We're looking for here. But I feel like I just solved a Rubik's Cube. Like, I'm so excited. Okay, and then all my challenges are gonna come up and smack me in the face, because that's what happens. That's how it goes. Okay, here we are. I'm just gonna settle in. Alexa, shut down. Okay. Glasses are fogging up. See the power of meditation? I was getting a little keyed up. And now everything's just a little bit more smooth. So we start to know that we have this inner peace that we can just tap into. And sometimes we can, and sometimes we can't. But you know, if we don't try, then we can't at all. So it's all practice, and everything you need to know will show up for you. As soon as you align with an intention to be more calm, more joyful, more detached from the entanglements around you, these things will rise up to challenge you. And make no mistake, and I'm sitting here thinking, you know, I want the chapter on, you know, pandemics. I want the 2020 chapter, like, but we're living in a pandemic and my neighborhood burned down and social injustice. But it does absolutely, you know, it's not saying those are still all conditions. It's not saying you can have inner peace except if life is really, really hard, except if bad things happen to you. It's just saying that those are conditions and we have really strong preferences. So it will just use the, like, sure, your wife left you or your husband died or you're going to prison for something you didn't do. So it will use some pretty extreme examples. And the work is just to choose to be happy, and it will pull back to the really broad view. And I keep hearing this over and over and over again. You know, we're floating on a planet in space that's infinite, and we're visiting for a short time, and so we can choose to enjoy that time and be fascinated with it, or we can choose to be overcome with worry and anxiety for every moment of it. And one of my friends was telling me a story about another friend. I don't know if it's a parable or just a wise person in her life, but you've got the person who worries all the time and the person who doesn't. And the person who doesn't was saying to the person who does, you know the difference between you and I? You worry, 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 and then you're going to die. And I don't. And then I'm going to die. So there is a lot we can control, and you can transform your life to meet your preferences more. But to be completely penned in by your preferences is to suffer. And this gives a big example of a person in a glorious, beautiful place, leave society, be in a big, open, sunny field, but then build a house to be really comfortable. And then it goes to extremes. And finally, the person's completely enclosed in the house with artificial light, and then the light goes out. But there was like a friend, servant there as well, who had a little light. And so then they are spending all their time keeping that light going, and they find a little light together, the light of love, but it's all light that they're creating from within, and all of their energy goes to creating a little bit of light in their lives inside of this structure, and they've become us and our life goes, we've constructed, and we're like, this fits me very well. I'm working really hard to create light within my construct instead of like opening the door and the windows and stepping back and receiving the light. So, you know, I'm really in touch right now. I feel really clear, and I guarantee you I'm going to have some upsets, and life is going to show me what for. Okay, test it out. But in this moment, I feel clear, and I don't feel that it's different than what I've been saying or feeling or thinking or searching. I just feel like it's a little more like, aha, you know. So the things I've been saying, I think still apply, you know. Getting stirred up about things you can't control isn't helpful, but certainly you can channel that energy, take action. So find the places where you can apply it, because that kind of, if it's an anxious fear energy, it actually sucks you dry and it closes you off. And so if you notice yourself sluggish, tired, tense, tight, where can you soften? How can you apply the lens of love, compassion, light, gratitude? A simple tool is focusing on your gratitudes, because we can't really be in both spaces at the same time. And sometimes we just have to get to neutral, a little less negatively affected, before we can get to the positive. And you can make a choice to pull back a little and not stay so engaged if you notice it's more towards the negative. And then service, right? So gratitude and service are tools of joy. Gratitude and service, because service helps us get out of our own story, and gratitude gets us out of our affectations a little bit, our conditions. When we notice what we're already grateful for, we can disconnect a little from all the things we want to change. And when we're in service, we can get outside of our own little melodramas. So those are my two big tools when I need a lifeline. Say, okay, I need to recenter around gratitude and service. And we are allowed to experience joy for joy's sake on our own. So whatever's showing up for you, can you detach a little from the negative, just fall back and notice and soften. All you have to do is notice. We fall down, we get back up. That's just noticing. That's all it is. Just notice, observe. And then, you know, we can apply a little light, a little compassion, a little service. And when we extend that out, you know, for some, extending it out is easier than extending it in. For some, extending it in is easier than extending it out. But wherever, if you can shine light and love wherever you can, you do that, and then it grows. And then if you notice, maybe it's always either here or here, you find your edge and you work the opposite. This is always also about living at the edge, living right at the edge of your challenge, because those are the edges of your house, your electric fence, your constructs, right at that edge where fear hits you and takes hold. you can be free on the other side. Okay, I think I have rambled on enough. Great book. I recommend it. The Untethered Soul.